Hi everyone. Today I'm back with part 2 of my Motherland tour. Part 1 was Daegu, and that was the first city we visited. It's also my birth city and where my birth family, or most of my birth family, currently still live. So we met up with them. I did a whole video on meeting my birth family and what that was all like, as well as a little update because it's been like 6 years since that all took place. So from there, our original plan was to travel down to Busan. I don't even know how we were going to get there, but we ended up, my birth sisters drove us. So it was my 2 birth sisters, one of their husbands, and my birth mother, as well as my husband and myself. And we drove together down to Busan to meet up with my 3rd birth sister and kind of tour that city, kind of just look around, and then from there we were going to head off to our next leg of the trip, which was going to be Jeju Island. We were in the car. I don't even remember how long of a drive it was. We didn't have a translator with us until we got down there, and from there we did. But we didn't have any of the translators from the agency. They were only provided to us for our time in Daegu, and we're using like Google Translate to try to communicate in the car ride and just in general. It was really good overall. It was really casual. So we got there, we checked into the hotel. We stayed at the Westin Chosun, which was right on Hyundai Beach. It was pretty nice. They thought we would meet them there, we would say goodbye to them there, and then we would do the rest of the trip ourselves. And that's not really how it turned out. So they accompanied us to Busan, where we met up with my 3rd biological sister, and she's actually the one I think that I looked the most similar to, physically, I guess, facial characteristic wise. We went to this this big fish market place, and we had lunch and met with my 3rd biological sister's husband, and she had a friend there who was helping us with translation and stuff, and that was really nice. Oh yeah, so they had us try all kinds of new foods, which my husband and I, we're all about. I mean, we love trying new stuff. And I did not grow up in a big seafood area, so some of the stuff we tried was really interesting and I'm sure is a little bit of an acquired taste, but we were open to try it, and it was really really fun to kind of get taste some of their favorite stuff. Obviously the fish doesn't get any fresher than that. Literally that fish was just barely alive minutes before it came to our table or whatever. And so we ate the fish as just filleted fish on a plate, and then whatever was left over went into this soup at the end. I don't even know the names of any of this stuff, but yeah, it was really good, and it was really fun to just be out. And that was actually our second kind of family meal at a restaurant. So we had done the barbecue with all the extended relatives. That was right after we first met everyone, and that was a little bit, we had just met everyone. So this one was way more casual. It was really cool to be just out hanging out, I guess. After that, we kind of walked around the harbor area, and it's beautiful. Busan has a lot of their export-import trade stuff goes on there. We went back to the hotel. We had brought gifts for my birth family. Actually, I got a lot of questions about this, what kind of gifts or what. So I don't know the actual right answer to this. Tradition-wise, I don't know if there is an actual tradition for what do you bring your biological family whom you've never known before. So my birth sisters, I gave them each a smaller Coach purse, and then I gave my birth mother a larger one, a big kind of tote style one. And the only reason I picked Coach, and this was also 6 years ago, so I feel like Coach was a little more popular back then maybe, and it's an American brand, so that's kind of what I figured there. And they had given me some different things. And I may do a separate video that's literally all the stuff, all the souvenirs, all the shopping, whatever, stuff that I chose to bring back with us from Korea. And I'll probably put all the birth family stuff in there as well. But we said goodbye to my birth mother, the two birth sisters and their husband that had accompanied us down there because they had to head back to Daegu. And then we were just with my third birth sister and her husband, and he's actually the minister or like a pastor at a church, and they live at the church. We saw where they lived and their quarters and everything. Like they drove us up to this kind of viewing point that kind of overlooked the city. It was really beautiful. That was like our last goodbye. Like that was really when we thought like that was it. We weren't going to see anybody else during our trip. So we had already said goodbye to everyone else from Daegu, and then we said goodbye to my third birth sister and her husband. And the next day we were getting on a plane to go to Jeju Island from there. So Busan overall was kind of this added on little leg of the trip that was supposed to be just my husband and I just kind of touring parts of different cities in Korea, but ended up being kind of an extended hangout time with my birth family, which was really cool. And I'm glad that they were pretty insistent too, because we were like, oh no, we can, we had transportation planned or whatever, and they were really insistent to drive us. And we had, there was 1, 2, 3, 4 of them, 2 of us, plus all of our luggage. So we had to actually take 2 cars to get down there. And it's so interesting. I don't know if anybody else has ever noticed this, but it seemed like majority of the cars were all white. Like the color of the car was white. So I don't know if that's a typical thing I noticed. Maybe it just happened to be the cars that we saw while we were there. And other little funny things about the cars, because I remember talking to my birth sister about this. They have little bumper things on the outside of their doors, and they also have cameras on their cars. So I guess in the event of an accident, it records before and after the accident. I don't really know how it works, but I thought that was really smart, really different than my birth sister and I were kind of saying. It's funny how between ourselves and our husbands, who cares more about their car than of the within that couple. And between myself and Ryan, definitely me, I am more picky about my car than he is. He doesn't really care. And she said same thing for her and her husband. So kind of funny. I think that we are probably pretty similar in a lot of ways. But kind of hard to tell. And I saw in the comments, people were suggesting yeah, you should learn Korean, and I am trying. I have most of the stuff. It's hard. I think I had only taken kind of Romance languages in school, and obviously English is my primary, pretty much only language. The only other languages that I kind of have a feel for is French and Spanish, because where I grew up is right near Canada and right on the border there, and yeah, so I could kind of get by in French, probably not even so much now. But yeah, so Korean is way different, way harder for me to get a grasp on. But it is on my list. I do want to, and I would love for my children to have an understanding of it and to be able to communicate, because they're kind of at the prime age to start that. So I have been thinking about that, maybe even just starting with Korean cartoons and shows and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's on my list. So thanks for the input. And I also want to mention, if you've left me a comment, try to read every comment that gets left on all my videos. As the video gets older, it's harder to keep up with that, but especially right after it's posted, I try to read every comment, and I've gotten some really nice comments from some of you that when I go back to respond, I'll read it and then I'll think oh, that's so nice. I don't have time right now to do a proper response. Sometimes I'll go through my notifications and I'll click on it and it's gone. So I realize some of you have written me kind of more personal parts of your stories, and I've actually even tried to email you through your YouTube username, and sometimes it's set up, sometimes it's not. But so if you've left me a comment, just know I do read them, and thank you so much for sharing parts of your stories. I think that's why I'm doing this. I love connecting with all of you, and amazingly enough, when I first decided to share this stuff, it was really truly for adoptees, fellow adoptees, whether or not we have the same story. I think that there's something to be gained from just hearing each other's stories. but I've gotten a lot of like really nice feedback and really nice comments from adoptive parents, which was, I don't know, really unexpected. I guess I didn't really think about that group as being interested, but it makes total sense. I mean, I just hadn't thought about it. But yeah, thank you so much for sharing all of your stories and sharing, you know, like your input, and I really appreciate it. And I would love to build like a community that's like supportive. And anyone who has a part or an interest in adoption topics, because I think there's a lot to be learned from each other, and also from the research, which is also something I've thought a lot about as far as what I want to include on this channel, because I want it to be part of it's my lived experience, and I think there's value in people's lived experiences for sure. But I am kind of a researcher at heart. Like I have my doctorate. It's in a very specific technical field. So I don't know if I'll ever like get into that, because I don't think that's of interest to anyone. But so I have my doctorate. I am no stranger to peer-reviewed journals and articles and research and all that. And I think that there's a lot of interesting research out there about adoption and the impact of adoption and the psychological trauma within adoption and all the different topics. So, you know, on the topic of identity and mental health and all of that, I just think there's a lot of stuff out there to kind of, you know, sink our teeth into and really get a better understanding as to what the perception and the research is. Something I've been thinking about, like, as part doing, is like kind of diving more into the research of it and dissecting it a little bit and discussing how the stats break, you know, what the statistics look like. So I don't know. That might be a little bit too boring for some, but I think that others like me might like that. I don't really know. So if you have an opinion on that, yay or nay, leave it in the comments, and then I can kind of gauge if there's any interest at all. And so yeah, that was my second leg of the trip, Busan. We ate a lot of fish and seafood and had a little extended hangout with my birth family, and yeah, saw a different part of Korea, which was really beautiful. Like every city we went to was really beautiful in its own way. So anyway, up next will be Jeju Island, which was like stunning, like so beautiful. So, and we did so many activities on the island too. So that one I'm excited to share with everyone. Like this video if you liked it, consider subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.